And also every now and then, if you want to reference that, if people are like asking who you're talking to, just be like, go to the YouTube stream for that way they can see like who we are and stuff.
Yes, sir. Sounds good, bro. I just
Okay,
let everyone know that we're live in Telegram as well.
nice. I just did my Discord. Good to go. YouTube is moving. We got some people in here right now. Nice, cool. Cruz, do you want to intro us? Or you want me to run with this one?
You saw you.
All right, bro.
Professional introducer.
Professional introducer, guys. Welcome back to the Joyage Kingdom. Cruz, have you announced anything related to your thing, or should I leave that out entirely right now?
It's a secret, bro. It's a secret.
All right, it's a secret. So welcome back to the Joyage Kingdom and the secret something.
Probably by next week. By next week
we'll have it. By next week we'll have
good
it.
to go.
We got our podcast episode 2 going down. Today we're gonna be interviewing ourselves. We're talking about a whole variety of things. A little bit geared toward life, a little bit geared toward business, and what we think about the world. We're gonna start this podcast. We're playing overrated, underrated. Also, I'm Cade, 25, content creator, entrepreneur, business owner.
Cruiser, 27. My bad. I didn't realize you were pointing at me because you're like,
yeah, I wasn't actually in the screen.
I'm dead, bro. Cruiser, 27 years old, business owner as well, bro. But yeah, bro, I'm super hyped for this overrated, underrated. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be late. All right, I'm gonna have you go first because I have the list over here. You ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Yo, why does my grandma keep calling me?
Bro, why is grandma gotta ruin it? No, I'm just kidding. Go for it.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at my video. I'm like, is this going? Okay, bro, you gotta stop calling me. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. This is crazy.
Yo, that's actually hilarious.
3 separate times in 10 seconds. I'm like, yo.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're over here on Instagram / wherever else I'm live, if you want to actually see the entire thing, you want to see me and Cade talking at the same time, hop on the actual YouTube stream on YouTube.
Bro, that was crazy. That was like anxiety ridden. That was a lot of calls all at once here.
Okay. Bro, it's when you're using technology, like when you're on a call, like everyone wants to call you at the same time, bro.
Dude, I'm telling you, I always remember to turn on Do Not Disturb. I just forgot today.
Yeah.
Okay. Overrated, underrated. Private jets.
Oh, definitely overrated.
What?
So overrated.
Why?
I mean, it's cool. Like in terms of like you have your own space, you could do what you want. Like that's cool. But like for the price, it's like absolutely not worth it at all whatsoever. I mean, unless you're just balling out of control, then of course. But if you're not like the top 1% of the top 1%, then it's just like, bro, it's such a waste of money. It's not even funny.
Dang. Entry hormones would say
different. You just have a, yeah. I mean, if you're traveling, it depends. If you're Alex and you're traveling all the time and it's like, then yeah, of course it's super convenient. But in general, if you're a regular, like a relatively regular person, then it is super overrated for sure.
Dang.
It's cool, but it's not that cool. You know what I mean?
We're gonna roll through all yours, and then actually no, we'll just do mine too. Private jets. I don't know. I've never been on one. All right. Overrated, underrated. TLX.
Very underrated because no one knows about it yet, bro. Like, so I feel like that's like a big reason why like it's super underrated. And yeah, if you're trying to get massive discounts, then it's a no-brainer for sure.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I'm not into a place where I'm traveling constantly to the point where I think I could use full advantage of it. But I think if you're traveling and you're consistently, you're going to be traveling a certain amount of times a year, which is most people. And I would say, especially in my opinion, like I think that TLX is amazing for people in like their late 20s, 30, and like pretty much any time after that, because they've got the luxury of being able to not be 24/7 broke. But if you're basically literally like not broke or not using 100% of your money to do some kind of business endeavor, like my position right now is I use pretty much every cent of money towards the business. And that's just how it is. But I think for the vast majority of people who just want to save money on discounts and stuff and hotels and whatnot, it's so crazily underrated. So if you guys want to get started, DM us on Instagram.
If you're going to if you want to take a bucket list type of trip at least once a year, then it's a no-brainer in terms of value versus cost for sure.
Definitely. All right. Super Smash Bros.
Smash Bros. Underrated. Definitely underrated. I was going to
Really?
say properly rated because a lot of people like it. But then again, I feel like not as many people actually like play it anymore. But Smash Bros. Is lit. It's like bro, I've been playing that since I was a kid. I still literally play, here and there now. Bro, it's a ton of fun.
True. Yeah, Super Smash Bros. I'm gonna put it properly rated. I think enough people know of it. It depends on like who you're asking. If you're asking the majority of people on Earth, it's probably going to be underrated. But to the people who know it is, I think it's properly rated. It's got it's got a good standing. People respect it. They respect the game, and it's fun. It's very, very fun.
I would agree with that. That's better than my take. That's
Alex Hormozy.
Oh, I would say properly rated now, because like I would have said underrated because like not too many people knew about him a while ago, but over the last couple of years he's just blown up and now he's just up there. So I would say in terms of value, massive value, but a lot of people do now know about it already. So I would say properly rated.
True. Yeah, I would say the same. I pretty much echo that. NFTs.
That's a good question. I don't know. You tell me, bro. You're Mr. NFT. So you tell me what you think, bro. My honest opinion is I'm not 100% sure. So you tell me.
I think for NFTs you need to be somewhat tapped in, because if you're in the context of just the industry itself, for people who are left there, it's overrated no matter what you do. However, if there's a way in your brand where you can incorporate it where it makes sense, it can be cool, and it can be not underrated. I would say properly rated. Like the way I use it is just my art. And if you want to buy my art pieces and you want to have like clear, cohesive, 100% authenticated verification that you own it, and if that's something you care about, and if you think that will be something you need to be caring about in the future, and there's just unequivocal, you own this, I think it's cool that you use the blockchain for that. I think there's no other way to verify that better than the blockchain. But if you pretty much use it for anything else, any other way to use NFTs, it's just not that effective when you can just use a subscription model or an email model. So it's very specific to like ownership on the blockchain, and there's art and there's very little things I think that blockchain is like necessary for until it's a little bit more mainstream, I guess.
Yeah, I've bought in like a handful of NFTs, but like, obviously I know not as much as you in terms of that space, but I would say underrated right now, because like, it blew up for a little bit, and now like, it's like it's died down, and that's like probably the best time to learn about that type of stuff is when no one's actually talking about it, So I would say as of right now, a little slightly underrated.
Yeah, I'm in the boat of like, I don't know as far as what happens when the next bull run kicks off. I don't know what happens if we go into another COVID-like type of lockdown. If that's any kind of situation like that where everyone's on the internet again, I could see things like that blowing up. I just don't know, because the first time it blew up was because it was new. The second time it blows up, I just don't know if that model works anymore because of all the holes we found in the bear run that I don't think change when the bull market comes back, versus like a meme coin or something can, because it doesn't depend on like holders being part of a community. They just buy it so they can make more money. NFT people buy it and then they flex that they own it, and then they like when they want to sell it, they get like hounded for it, and it's just not a good model in general, and it just doesn't work the way we thought it might work, that I thought it would work maybe a year ago. Things just
for
changed.
sure. Definitely, it was definitely overhyped at that point. So I definitely know what you mean.
Yeah, I was drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. Not gonna lie. All right, next one, caffeine. Drinking coffee right now.
I would say underrated. I like caffeine. I think that, I don't know. Usually I'll drink either something, coffee, energy drink, pre-workout, something. And like it definitely helps me. So I mean, I would say underrated.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if it just happens to be that all the things that I like to drink have the caffeine in it, but like I feel like if I was going to drink anything other than water, it would need to have a reason. Like otherwise, I would just drink water, because it's just like I don't have enough. Like I'm not gonna go drink insert electrolyte powder drink in here, because I just don't think that has enough benefit for me. So I'm like, if I'm gonna drink anything that's gonna be not water, I'm gonna drink coffee or an energy drink that tastes good, because it tastes good, because it's 0 calories, and because it's gonna maybe give me a little bit of extra energy. So I would say it's probably overrated, to be honest, but like I like it.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about. When I'm thinking about overrated or underrated, it's hard, because like I'm thinking about like my opinion, but I'm also thinking about like, other people's opinion. So it kind of depends on the perspective that you're thinking from.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so that was a good game. I like that. I think that's actually kind of funny way to start. We could probably do like 2 or 3 of those at the beginning of every episode, and
for sure, bro,
get the juices flowing. So, anyways, so we're gonna do an interview with ourselves. I don't know if you want to start, if you have a couple questions, or if you have a topic that you want to dive into.
Yeah,
you got one?
I could start. I think a good way to start would maybe when it comes to this interview would be asking each other a little bit about like our like overview of the entire story. So it'd be dope to hear your entire story, but just like summarized in like 30 seconds or a minute, just like super, super short. And then from there, I have a bunch of individual things I want to ask you as well. But I think that'd be a good place to start, would be like just your story in general, you know, like where you grew up, where you're from, what you did, how you got to where you are, what you're doing now. Just a summary. That'd be a good place to start.
All right, I'm going to elevator pitch myself. If I
Cool.
had a forced few minutes with the CEO of a company I wanted to work with, and he's in the elevator stuck with me. The elevator got stuck, and I got a few minutes to pitch myself to this man or woman. Maybe it's Layla Hormozi. That would be sick. This is my pitch to Layla Hormozi, my few minutes with it. So basically, always.
Were you born at a young age?
Bro, I was born pretty young. I'd say like gotta be under like 1 year old or something like that. Yeah, so I was born like pretty young, 1998. I was about 0 when I was born, something like that, probably. And then, you know, I kind of grew up. I was a loser. I kept getting picked on because I was Asian. I kept thinking that it was like, I remember this very, very young when I was playing soccer in the backyard by myself because I didn't have friends, that I was like, bro, this world doesn't make sense. Like, I didn't even know anything yet. I just knew that like something was off, and it was just like a slight feeling that I remember. I kind of verbalized in my head, like this. It doesn't feel like this can't be all there is. Was kind of like the answer that I was coming to when I was like 7. I didn't know what to do with that because no one knows what to do with that age. So I just kept doing my thing. I didn't understand why nobody cared to do the things they liked. They just tried to be cool all the time, and I was just like, but I like soccer, so I'm going to spend all my time playing soccer. I don't understand why nobody's doing that for anything that they like. And it's not true. There's a bunch of people who were doing that. I just didn't know. There were artists who just like did their art thing. I was just so focused on what I was doing, and I thought I was right because we all live in our own little world. So I just did that growing up. It was soccer. I want to be a professional. And then got to like junior year, tore my ACL, thought it was over. I had 5 months to get back post-surgery to make it in the 6-month window of college recruitment season. So I had 1 month of like, maybe I can make it time. So I basically like had no choice but to get fully recovered in 4 months instead of 8. And I told my surgeon, my doctor, my PT, I was like, yo, this has got to happen. So whatever you normally do, I need that to be cut in half. And I just need you to make it work. And they were like, yeah, like that's fine. It's probably not going to happen. So fast forward 4 months, I was fully recovered. Got back in the 5 months for the recruitment season. Tried out for one team, made it. Took it immediately, didn't even think. I was like, I don't care. I'm taking it. So I rolled with that and did college soccer for a year. And then pretty much after college, got interested a little bit in content. And I saw that my life was kind of boring. It was just like, I just kind of played college soccer and then kind of just went to college. And I was like, that's kind of lame. And I got out of college and I was like, bro, I have nothing to offer anybody. Like I had this degree that I like fluffed my way through. What am I going to do with this? I don't even like this stuff that much. And so I started doing podcast stuff. I was waiting tables at a restaurant. And so I started waiting tables. I was making good money. I got into finance, got into crypto, bought some Dogecoin, got a little bit of money from that. And then I was like, okay, if I'm going to be something cool, if I'm going to have anything worth talking about in 20 years, I got to take a chance or something. And so at that point I had started the podcast a little bit. I got this idea of van life and I took that Joyage. And I took that leap of faith. I hopped in my car, traveled around, and vlogged that whole time, and then stumbled on NFTs. Figured I'm a content creator. Let me flex my content creator skills, find out what's missing in the industry, and exploit it in a good way. And so I exploited it in a good way, and I thought I brought a lot of good value because there was a bunch of degeneracy going on. And through that, I was able to create a whole entire career out of content creation, commission videos. I found the secret to making online money without a lot of views. And so I rolled with that for a few years. And then in like the last 6 months or so, I had a whole life revelation. All this crazy stuff happened. And I had to kind of restart and figure out what I'm going to do with my life. But a lot of the skills I picked up in that, as far as getting opportunities, connecting with CEOs of companies you never would get to, collaborating with brands that would never see your stuff if you don't follow certain protocol. When I found out that protocol, I realized that is a transitive skill that goes across every single industry. And it works. And I tried it again in the last month in a different industry that nobody knows about, a different TikTok account that blew up. I've had multiple viral videos already go. I used the same tactics I used before. I'm just a better content creator. So that's probably why one of the videos blew up. But I was able to connect with some of the biggest companies in this industry in like 2 weeks on their official website, like crazy, crazy stuff. So I would say it's pretty much that's as close as it's going to get to a 5-minute elevator pitch. And I don't know what position Layla Hormozi is hiring me for, but hopefully she's like hired.
That's so funny. Yeah, awesome, bro. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could talk about. So I'm trying to think of like, let's just since you shared your story, I'll just ask you a bunch of questions. Then we can like switch around later, and you can ask me a bunch of questions. I think that'd be a good way to do it. So where do I want to start? Let's start with where it started, which is like soccer. It's crazy because we both like had that soccer background, which is crazy. Yeah, man. So let's talk a little bit about that. I want to know like your experience with soccer in terms of like, how that went for you. Like, cause like I had the same vision, like, hey, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. This is what I want to do. This is how I spent my entire life. I didn't do anything but soccer. And then I played a bunch of FIFA and that was it. So like that was my life. So yeah, go in depth on that really quick and talk about like maybe some of the best parts about it, some of the worst parts about it, some of the highs, some of the lows, and that'd be a good place to start.
You said soccer in general or college soccer?
I would say soccer in general, and then you could talk about college soccer at the end.
Yeah. Soccer is pretty much the only thing I was good at. It's the only place I could offer any value. I wasn't that smart. I wasn't that good looking. I wasn't that athletic. I wasn't that anything. And I was like, dang, bro, this sucks. I'm not good at anything. I'm not naturally good at anything. I'm like kind of good at soccer, but I have to work 5 times harder than anybody else to just break into like the first team and like JV, like not even varsity, like just to be like sort of good enough. But then I think like years of that compounded effort finally does start to pay off, but you don't notice it if you don't start to intentionally change your mindset. Like I had the same mindset throughout all of it. And that's the reason life didn't start for me until literally the Joyage began. Like until I took the leap of faith on myself, my life didn't change because of my mindset. I did a bunch of stuff and my like accomplishments were racking up and my skills were racking up and I was getting in shape and I was kind of like low key, like blowing past a bunch of people that I thought were above me, but I didn't let myself realize that. So I always picture myself as that guy who still sucks and can't do anything. Like I got to a point where my body was probably in better shape than 99% of people on earth. And I looked better than 99% of people on earth, but I still viewed myself as just like a useless, like average person and like who hasn't done anything, isn't worthy of anything. And I think that was probably the biggest thing was that mindset thing that started in soccer because I knew I wasn't that good. And all I wanted was to be in the conversation with the people. Like, I'd look at the varsity squad and be like, bro, if I could just be in that squad. And then I got there, but I just didn't acknowledge it. I was just in there, but I never like realized that I was in the squad now, or I was like one of the best players in the team. And then when I transferred schools, I got a little bit of a big head because I was like, oh, I'm like this new guy. I came from a bigger school or bigger soccer school. And like, I just came in, like immediately came into the varsity squad and I kind of ran with that, but I never like thought about it intentionally. But soccer was the only place I could offer any value. And it was the only place that I could have kind of complete control and not be dependent on other people for stuff. Like if I want to be better at free kicks, I would just practice free kicks. And no one could tell me I'm bad at them if I'm making them, if I'm scoring them. You know what I mean? And so I like that aspect. And so that led all the way to college soccer. I was able to play in the North-South games. So that's like the top 25 or top 50, whatever soccer players in the state. I was able to make that team. But I still had that like, what's it called? Chip on my shoulder that I wasn't that good. Like just because like I make this team, which is supposed to be like pretty much the highlight of like any high school soccer player's career. So like that's like the top, one of the top things you could ever get. And like making all state and like doing every single thing. But because I wasn't like the best player on that team, I was like, bro, I suck. And I was like, dude, look at that. Like every single thing like that is like, if I wasn't immediately at the top, I was like, bro, I knew it. I suck. So that's probably the one thing I pull from that.
When did you start? How old were you when you started?
Soccer started when I was like 5. It was like the first sport I picked. And then I bounced around with playing baseball.
Did you do other sports too? Baseball,
yeah, I ran the wrong way on basketball and I scored on my own hoop.
You're just Asian. You're just Asian, so you can't play basketball. That's the problem.
I literally ran the wrong way and scored on my own basket. So I gave up basketball.
No way. That's actually funny.
Bro, it was unforgivable because the guy on the other team, one of the guys was at my school. And that just like that, like literally broke me, bro. I had to quit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, basketball didn't work out.
You know, it's crazy when it comes to like soccer. I had like a little bit of like I feel like a different experience. Like for me, I was like very, very, very naturally good, especially when I was younger. Like, you know, when I was like 12, 13, 14, like around that, like I would be like the best player on the team. And I was like so good that it like got to my head to the point where like I didn't think that I had to work as hard.
Mm,
And then like people would like start to like pass me up that had like half the skill as me.
yeah.
And then like I was still good. You know, I was still very, very, very good. And we won state multiple times. We won state in high school, and we won our whatever conference it was in college or whatever. But like I went from being like the best at a younger age to like, you know, slowly kind of just like not as good, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
that taught me a lot. For me, that taught me like, yo, like it's easy to work hard when you're, you know, not as good as everybody else to get as good as everybody else. But when you're like the best and you're at the top, it's easy to get super, super lazy. And that's like a super big like lesson that I took away from that.
Dude, that's probably like huge for me too in business and content creation. I got to a point where I was doing well and stuff. And so I just kind of like sat on that for a while, and I was like, it's fine. Like I worked hard already. I shouldn't have to do this anymore, kind of thing. And I think that can be okay to a fault in some ways, but if you're just gonna live on that forever, you're not gonna grow as a person. So it's just not a good habit to grow, you know.
You develop this just sense of entitlement because you're just like so good, and then also you get like all this credit, and you get all this like, and I can only imagine on a bigger scale if you're like super, super famous or whatever, like how that would just completely mess you up. But yeah. Okay, cool. Going back to soccer, I had another question I wanted to ask you about it. I'm trying to remember what it was.
College soccer situation, like that was pretty booty.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually forgot my question, but just
I figured you did.
what was the what was the biggest difference from like regular soccer to like college soccer? Was it a lot more difficult? Was it like the same? And then from there, like, did you just eventually like did you lose passion for it, or did you just like, yo, like this is not the path for me, or like what direction did you want to take after that?
Bro, it's just really, really hard. Like college soccer is very, very, very hard. And high school soccer,
were you working out like twice
hard.
a day? Were you doing 2 a days?
Yeah,
Like, or
we were
no?
doing everything. We were doing everything, and I just was not prepared for how big and strong this like the college game is. So big and fast. I don't have another word to describe it. It's so different than high school ball. It's actually night and day. It's so different. And unless you're prepared mentally, and that's why I brought up the mental thing, unless you're mentally prepared for that, you're going to get absolutely pooped on when you get on that field because you're not ready for it. Like there are some players that could. There are some players who came from senior year, went into freshman year, transitioned beautifully, and started as a freshman and was crushing it. But I just wasn't. I didn't have that confidence factor. And so when I got onto the team and I was hit with that wave of realization, I stepped up to the plate initially. And I was good enough and I had a little bit of confidence. And I was actually the first sub off the bench as a freshman. And I was doing well. I had like my first touch of the game in a college game. I shot from like 30 yards away. I was like, F it, I'm shooting. And I shot and I literally almost scored. It was like top corner. And I started celebrating because I was like, I literally just did it. And then he saved it. And I was like, oh my. And then it was like that for like a couple of games. And I was like, bro, I'm going to really like, I got this. I wasn't that good, but I was like, I got this. At least I'm not losing the ball every time. And then, bro, I had a bad day. I got the ball. I tripped on it. It was a turf game. It was like, I don't know if it was the field or what. I just could not get my game. Like I would fall on the ball. I tripped. I lost the ball like 4 touches in a row, lost the ball. Coach literally broke my confidence in that game. He like never played me again for like 10 games straight. Didn't play me. Didn't even like look at me for like 10 games. And I was like, well, I suck. And I pretty much from that moment, I just like it was a progressive downhill from there. And I started to lose passion a little bit because there were players that weren't that good, but were on scholarship and coach was paying them more than me. And he played them. And I was like, bro, this kid from Slovakia came over, couldn't run a mile, couldn't play soccer, couldn't do anything. He threw up running from half field to the corner flag. He threw up in his first game. And I actually couldn't believe it. And he kept playing him throughout the season, but he would bench other players. And I just didn't like the politics of it. And that completely ruined it for me.
Bro, same. For me, I kind of had a similar situation. Like for me, like going into like college, we had like our preseason, and during our preseason, I was actually playing a ton. I was starting a little bit, actually a lot. I don't know why I said a little bit. And dude, I was like scoring, getting assists. And then like going into like the actual season, like there was a ton of favoritism towards like the seniors and people that have been there for a long time. And I'm in my head, I'm like, I don't care how long you've been here. Like I'm trying to win. Like I'm trying to win. And like, for me, like if I deserve to be on the bench, put me on the bench. Right. Yeah. But if I'm better than people on the field, then put me on the field. That's how I felt. And I just got sick and tired of like politics, bro. And that definitely scarred me from like wanting to continue to try to play it to that next level. Because yeah, man, you got to develop connections, bro. Doesn't matter if we're talking about business, sports, whatever. Like you got to form some type of connections to a degree. You don't have to, I don't know. You have to be very, very, very good, but at the same time, you also have to like build some type of like really good connections, or you're just so good, like you're like the best of the best of the best, and at that point, it doesn't even matter. But in general, like
For
there
the
are
most part,
people.
I agree. But there's also situations where it's a hopeless cause. Like my coach, he was just hopeless. Like he was tenured. He started the program 30 years ago. He had literally so many losing seasons. I couldn't believe he was still there. It was clear and obvious that the coach was just had an iron grip on the athletic director or something. And so it was one of the situations where like, no matter what happened, he had his ways. He didn't care. He was a Nigerian coach who played on the national team.
What's his
he was
name?
Very coach Ike Ofoje, I think. He was
Ike something. We're calling you out, bro.
But he was very fast and very strong. And so he just rolled with that. He was like, bro, that's how I did it. I was like, bro, you have a team of a bunch of white Europeans. Like, we are not fast or strong. And so your strategy of run them over and just, why aren't you running them over faster, doesn't work with a bunch of these kids. I'm like, we're a team that passes. Why aren't you like playing? Like, why aren't you working around us a little bit? Like, why aren't you developing the culture a little bit? Like our structure from the top down was miserable. We had a captain who was very self-centered. He liked to play around him only. He liked his own way. And it was just like, it wasn't the proper leadership. He was a great player, but as a captain, it's just not the move. You don't put a player like that as a captain. There was another guy who's like Rodrigo, who's like clearly, obviously the captain, great morals, is there for the team, shows up on time, never like talks back. He's great. He's not the captain. Everyone looks at Andre. And I just didn't understand that dynamic. And I didn't like that I was 18 years old and this coach who had been here forever and this team of players who are all really good. I was like, why aren't y'all trying to win? Why are you guys trying? It's like a popularity game. And it really ruined the entire thing because I realized that on some level, life can be like that. And I kind of just decided I'm going to walk away. And I had kind of lost my passion for soccer at that point.
I feel that, bro. Yeah, we're going to have to switch up our strategy, bro. We're just still talking about soccer and we're like 30 minutes in. So I'm thinking this interview, I'm going to mainly ask you questions. And then the next one you can ask me. And then after that, then we could start getting guests. What do you think?
Okay. What's that?
Is that cool? All right, perfect. I remembered my question that I forgot earlier. I was going to ask you, so in terms of like sports in general, do you feel like it's mostly people are like, yo, they're just born and then they have like a ton of success just straight off like the genetics and who they are, or like they have to work for it, or like what percentage is it? That was my question.
Bro, that's a tough question. I do not know. I feel like for the most part, anyone can get anything. But like, there's something Gary Vee said. He was like, at some point, he was like, I'm like 5'7", and like I'm just like this white kid from Jersey. He's like, I'm just not gonna probably play at NBA. He goes, it doesn't mean I can't. I'm just not gonna be like the best. So if that's the case, then like, what am I really good at that I could be the best at? Like, and if I like it, maybe I should go that way instead. For me, like soccer, I was great. I was good enough. I was good and stuff. But like, I remember at a certain point that we were doing some of the conditioning, and I was like, you know what? To be a pro, you got to be able to do all the things. You can't just like playing on the game day. You have to like the conditioning part and be willing to do it when you don't want to do it. And I was like, maybe I don't love it as much as I thought. Maybe like I like certain aspects, but maybe just because I love it doesn't mean I have to go and play college ball. You know what I mean? And that's a hard pill to swallow because in high school, it's like not cool unless you're trying to be college kind of thing. And that's just how it is. And that's the first like 18 years of your life. But
what's your opinion on college in general? Let's switch a little bit, switch topics. College in general, good, bad, great investment, terrible investment. What do you think?
I think it's okay. I just think it's if it was like 20% less expensive, I wouldn't really have a problem with it. It's just very expensive. And there are doors it opens. If you're a business guy or entrepreneur at all, on your resume, your college degree will help you a little bit because they'll be like, oh, great, you went to college. Fantastic. But if it's not there, it's not going to affect it that much. If you're a pretty competent individual and you started a business and you've been doing stuff that other people don't, like more people haven't started a business successfully than have gone to college and like graduate. Like I don't think college is that hard. If you're like slightly motivated to just graduate and are just willing to just study a little bit, you can get through for the most part, but I don't know.
Your future kid is like graduating high school and they're like, yo, should I go to college? Should I go to college or nah? What's the answer?
Uh, It kind of depends what kind of kid they are. If I raise them right and they're like competent and not an idiot, I just think in 20 years, I think the conversation around college would be different. I think they're like Peterson Academy is dropping soon, or maybe even right now. And that's Jordan Peterson's like new alternative thing. I think there'll be a lot more things like that. My dad's talking about micro certifications and a new style of resume that's like stacking 13 micro certifications that people get that just dial in. You're really good at this thing. I think that would be way more impressive. And like, if I'm going to have, 50K set aside for my kid to like have at 18 to do things, kind of like how my parents pay for college, they had a bag on the side to pay for that. I think that would just go towards whatever that ends up being. But I would be kind of set on like, yo, you got to do something, and it doesn't really matter what it is, but you got to do it. I don't know. I think that's probably what I would do. But if he was like, should I go to college? I'm like, well, I don't think that's the question you'd be asking. Like, should I do anything? My answer is probably yeah. Like, should I do a business? Yeah. Should I go travel abroad? Like, probably yeah. Like that kind of thing. I would just say yeah. Go.
Basically, like figure out what you want.
Yeah.
And then it kind of depends. I got you. Cool. All right. Well, all right. So we had like, soccer. Then we have college. What was like the next chapter?
Fitness, college and fitness were kind of tied together, and then that turned into.
What? Let's talk about that before anything else. Talk about the fitness stuff. So you said that you looked better than 99% of people in terms of like your physique. And so my question for you is, you also said at the same time, like you still kind of like hated the way that you looked. And I know you're not the only one. There's a ton of people that feel that same way. So let me ask you this question. What is more important? Self-improvement, working on yourself and bettering yourself just in general, in this case, your looks, but just in general, or self-acceptance, accepting yourself and loving yourself for who you are while you're in that process of getting better?
Bro, the coming together of both of those is probably some semblance of finding your spiritualness of like connecting with whatever that is for you. For me, it's Jesus, is with God. So the combination of that of working to get better, but knowing, like, I think the issue comes from an initial sense of self-worth that if you don't have, you'll never get there, because you're never going to be able to do anything that will give you that sense of worth that's going to be unchangeable. Because if you do, then it will always change no matter based on what you're doing at that point.
Always another level.
Yeah, but if you believe that God died for, in my case with the Christian God, like Jesus came and he died for you to show you your value, and you don't get to decide that. It's not up to you. When people say like, I don't want to do this because I don't really love myself, I'm like, that's fine, and I understand that. I don't want to say it like this, but like at the same time, it's not really up to you to decide that, because if you do, we see what happens. You just come to this point where everyone's trying to do everything, and you're trying to change this, and I'll just take this hormone, and I'll take this DNA booster, and like I'll change this and play God basically. And I'm like, you think that works? I'm like, has that ever worked ever? And I'm like, no. Why? Because we're in the game. You can't like change the rules of the game inside the game when you only have the perspective of a player in the game. That doesn't even make sense. So for me, I think the accumulation of saying like, okay, my initial self-worth of a value of a human life is set here. It's priceless. Boom. Start from there. If you start from there, if you're able to come to that at some point in the journey, I think it's not only like very helpful, it's the thing that you were always supposed to find, I think. And when you find that, that's why so many Christians become so just like annoying, because they want people to know that. They just don't know how to teach it. They don't know how to properly evangelize it. So I think it's probably the accumulation of that, trying to accept yourself, which is very easy and a lot easier once you realize the value of your life, and then improving because you care to be a better person, because that's like a core fundamental thing about being a living being, a human or not. You want to get better so that you can provide more and help other people, and if you're a dog, maybe help other animals, or if you're a lion, like help your pride, or like whatever it is, help your pack.
For sure. No, that was solid. That was a great answer. Okay, so college and fitness, and then what after that? What was the next chapter?
College and fitness. And here's the thing. The last thing I'll say on that is, for me, I had to go climb every one of those mountains. There was like a certain few mountains I needed to climb to just make sure that it wasn't like the answer before God. I was like, let me just first get a perfect body. Then if it's not actually going to make me happy, then I'll try this other thing. But I was like, let me first see if I can get to the top of the soccer game. Maybe that'll make me happy. Didn't work. Let me then try and become the fittest person on earth, basically have like 1% body fat, be absolutely shredded to the bone, like so many abs, it looks weird. and then let me date the hottest girl in my entire college. Maybe that will make me happy. I tried all 3 of those things, and they all left me even worse than before. So then I'm like, okay, now what do I do? And so then after all that, that's when I got into the position where I said, okay, I like making videos, been making videos for 10 years. I want to do some podcasts because I think it's kind of nice to get this stuff off my chest. And then I was like, I want to do something crazy because unless I take a leap of faith on myself, all I'm going to do is going to be some version of pandering to somebody else. So I need to at least take a chance and try it one time and just go on my own and just take a chance on something. I don't even know what the thing is going to look like yet. I just know that I need to get in my car and go left. That's all I know. I need to go out of this place and I need to drive somewhere else and live in my car and see what that's like. And that was pretty much the beginning of the Joyage.
Sheesh. Okay, well, why don't you talk about that? Talk about you living in the car. We've had multiple conversations about how you lived in a car for a period of time and how it was the best time of your life, right? But yeah, talk about you living in the car. And then since you said Joyage, talk about like the creation of your brand, what it means, how it yeah, all that. I feel like that'd be a great next thing to talk about.
Yeah, so in 2020, when COVID happened, I got, just like many people, got interested in some kind of creative endeavor because what else are you going to do sitting in your house all day? I was working at the restaurant, but I had nothing to do besides that. And can't go see your friends, can't go outside pretty much. So I got into photography a little bit by accident because I was making thumbnails. And then I was like, yo, it's kind of cool to take pictures. So I started doing photography and I was like, yo, maybe I can get paid for this. So I'm going to be a professional photographer. And so I started taking a lot of photos, doing a lot of that. I needed a website. And I was like, okay, what am I about? What do I like doing? What am I trying to be like? What am I trying to do? And I was like, well, I'm on this journey of life. I'm trying to be joyful during it. Let me come up with a list of words. So voyage, journey, all these things. And then I was just like, let me just combine joy and voyage and make Joyage. I thought it was really cheesy, but then my friends didn't make fun of it that much. So I was like, okay, maybe it's not that cheesy. I didn't need a website name anyway. So I rolled with that. It was joyage.com or whatever. And that was my photography page. And then that slowly started to change. I got the podcast. I was like, great, Joyage podcast. And then did the trip, and I was like, oh, this is basically a Joyage. This is a journey of self-discovery, a leap of faith into the unknown, and I roll the dice on myself. So that was what the Joyage became. The trip of the Joyage turned into my NFT collections, which I sold as art pieces, and I was able to sell that as sort of professional photography. That ended up happening by accident in a way I never thought would happen. So that was cool. And then NFTs popped up, and I started built a YouTube community, a Discord community. I needed a name.
So you created the Joyage stuff before the NFT stuff?
Way before, 2 years before, or a year before.
Okay, a year before.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, cool. And then NFTs come. Like, what got you into like, what made you say like, hey, I'm gonna like kind of switch my direction and like focus like mainly on NFT stuff?
I was making so many vlogs that are very hard to make and very tedious and annoying. And it takes you out of the moment, especially if you're traveling and you're trying to like capture the beautifulness of this mountain you're on or whatever. And I was like, yo, I hate this. Like I wanted to be a travel vlogger. And this is actually the worst thing ever. I don't like this at all. It's not fun. And I was like, this is such a lie, but I needed to know that because I saw it was like one of those things I needed to try. I was like, okay, I dated the hot girl. I did this thing. I did that thing. This thing. I need to see if travel, because travel vlog is the peak of social media. Like it doesn't get better than that. It looks like, and then you go do it and you're like, oh, this isn't anything like people say. And then now you get all these YouTubers coming out like, hey, travel vlogging is not what it all sounds like. And now everyone's starting to see the reality of like an influencer. And that's why all these like life influencers are blowing up now who are just filming regular stuff and they're blowing up. I think that's amazing. However, when I was doing this content, I was like, yo, this is exhausting. I'm not getting views. This isn't working. I don't even like this. What do I like doing? And I was like, well, I'm obsessed with NFTs. I think this crypto thing is cool. I think this NFT thing is cool. I think there's something here. And I've got like $2,000 left to my name. I'm going to spend all of it on these NFTs. And so I basically did that. And I worked DoorDash 15 hours or like maybe 8 hours a day. And then I pretty much didn't sleep for like, I would sleep. I remember for the first 2 weeks, I slept every other day. And I was an actual zombie. I don't know why I thought I could be driving during that. But for the first 2 weeks of my NFTs, I slept every other day because I couldn't stop researching. I was on Twitter, Discord, YouTube. I was just trying to figure out what NFTs were. And I do that with everything I get obsessed with. I just spend like a month or two or whatever it is getting so deep into it. Same thing I did with Christianity. I just was like, I need to know this isn't stupid. And if I can figure out it's not stupid, then I need to know everything. So when someone does shoot me down, I can hit them with facts and be like, no, this. And that's the same thing I do with Christianity, with evangelizing. I get the same 22 arguments against it. And I've got the same 22 answers that have already been answered 100 times, you know?
Yeah, I will say this. There's like a saying, and it's like competence creates confidence. And like,
Mm,
I think that I'm literally the same as you. When I want to learn something or do something, I want to know every single thing about that thing, so that, because honestly, it comes from a fear of just looking stupid, to be honest. Like, I
pretty
don't want
much.
to look dumb. Like, I want to like know what I'm talking about, or else I'm
Yeah.
not going to talk about it. And yeah, that gives you a whole level of belief that most people don't have, because most people don't ever go all in on anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's super, super cool.
Yeah,
So
pretty much. That turned into
let's
the Joyage Kingdom though, because that was that brand and community that I created was the Discord, and we were like,
mhm.
"What are we gonna call it?" And I was like, "Joyage something." I was like, "What is it gonna be?" And I was like, "Oh, Joyage Kingdom." And so that's like Joyage Kingdom was born, and then the logo came, and then that just rebranded to this. And I think this is dope. And then we got the logo, like the actual logo with like the big circle thing, which actually I can pull up here.
Yeah, pull it up really quick. Yeah, guys, I'll say this. This, bro, those Joyage shirts are like bro, some of the nicest shirts, bro. Like
Oh, thank you.
1,000,000%. Like, I love the black shirt. That's like literally one of my favorite shirts. So
I love
yeah,
it too.
definitely, definitely. Okay, cool. So did you pull it up? You shared it?
I just pulled up on the screen, but I thought it was going to be smaller. Oh, here it is. Here's a small one. I'll keep it there actually. I like that.
Fire. Perfect, perfect.
That's the logo.
Cool, cool, cool. So, with that being said, what is the worst NFT project that you bought into, and what was the best? And then what was like the
Oh
outcome
no.
of those two things?
Every single PFP I bought, every single one was probably the worst decision because I bought it with this idea that maybe the founder wasn't a grifter and maybe had a real idea, and none of them did. Like none of them did anything with it. And maybe they're good people and maybe they tried some stuff, but not a single one of them had an actual idea. And I was just basically being fed the Kool-Aid of this could be possible. But then when I step back for like half a second, I'm like, wait, that's not that cool at all. And it's not that revolutionary at all. And all you're doing is just like building a brand, but you're not even like spending the effort to build the brand. Like you're not doing any of the things right. And that's why like half my videos are about branding, because I just don't think any of them were doing it right. And now we see they weren't doing it right because they're all dead. And like we're still here somehow. And I'm like, how am I here when I didn't raise $2 million? And all I do is just make videos about stuff. You could have done the same thing. You could have hired with your $2 million any competent content creator and you would still be here. You could have figured something out, but you didn't. And I just don't like that. I really, really hate that I had bought so many of those PFPs thinking that people were better entrepreneurs than they were. Like I just was like, oh, they have all this experience. They've done all these things. I should trust them. And then I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like it was they didn't have to work that hard to get these things. And then when it worked, they got this on this pedestal. And I think I just fell for it. And I'm just like, I can't believe I did, kind of thing. And they're good people. I think for a lot of them, it's just like that model was so silly that I don't know how I didn't see it. And I feel really silly having done that, because the way my brand went, I wish I just stuck with that, because it works in my route that I took and it still works. I just wish I had stuck in that lane 100%, because I think if I had done that, I would have carved out a niche in that world that is still around, and I could have just avoided all the nonsense. But all that nonsense that I participated in also got me to the point of where I was at, my stature in Web3. So I guess I can't complain. But there's not a single PFP project I am like grateful that I bought, I guess.
Okay. What's like the best like NFT project that you were like, yo, like this was actually like had some good utility and this also made me some money or whatever? Like, is there anything that comes to mind?
I mean, there's a few that I like flipped, but I wouldn't say like that's because of them. That's just because of the hype that was generated that day. But there's some projects that actually had some utility. Like Wolf Boy Social is pretty much the only one that I was like, I guess I'll wrote that into the one PFP I don't regret. It's the only PFP I own still. Like I did sell all of them.
There you
So
go.
I'll say Wolf Boy. Wolf Boy Social is the only NFT project I stand by at all right now. I'll just keep that for my soundbite. But I do like Wolf Boy. They did, and I don't know. Never mind. They have this Discord where they have an engagement in their Discord that's different, because they offer something that people in the Discord ask for. And it's a thing that's not really tied to Web3. It's just, if you own this token, you get to be part of this thing. And that happens to be streams and conversations about fighting, about MMA, about boxing. And they offer that. And the guy who made the collection, a portion of that money goes to like paying for the streams and streaming for everyone. And I'm like, that's cool, because like, if anything else, he did that. And then if anything else, he created the club of like people who talk about this stuff, and he created the clothes that he said he was going to do. If anything, he stuck to what he said he was going to do for real, and he's still offering it, and he hasn't just disappeared. I do wish he had actually followed through with a lot of the branding that I thought was going to happen. None of that ended up happening. But if any project did anything, I would say it's them. And they didn't even like cheat. They didn't do the paid marketing. Like they did it the right way. So I still like them. That's the reason I didn't sell all of them.
Nice. Solid. Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's switch gears, bro. I want to talk about content creation because when it comes to like content, social media, you're the guy. And I've learned a ton from you myself. And it's changed the way that I've done certain things and it's helped me. So I'd love to talk about that. When did you start creating content? What's your first memory of like, yo, I created my first piece of content and you just realized that you liked it?
That was probably right when I started making videos in like 2009. I just like made a video in my backyard. I saw a video.
Bro, we gotta plug in your soccer videos, bro.
You know, if you type in Cade Bergman with one N, you'll find my old YouTube channel from like 2009, 2010. But I saw these free kick videos and I was like, bro, I can make that. I want to make that. So I was like, let me just slightly get good enough to be able to kick a ball into the goal that looks cool. And then I'll start making videos myself. And then my parents had this old camera. And so I just used that for all my stuff. And I edited on like Movie Maker 2009, whatever that was. And I just liked the creativity aspects that like I was actually in control for something in my life. Like my mom told me once that she was like, the reason that moms have so many purses is that when you're like part of a family, like nothing is in your control. Everything is just chaos. And your husband's doing something you wish he wasn't doing. Your kids threw this thing on the ground. They got to clean it up. She goes, at least I have my purse that I bought. I chose this one. I put whatever I want in it. And I was like, that's funny. But it's the same with like my videos with soccer. It's like the one part that like nobody could tell me I was doing it wrong because I wasn't employed or anything. I was just making videos. And I could kind of control that narrative in a way. And I just liked that. And I liked that I could build on it and get better. And I upgraded. It was the first time I ever had a semblance of investing in myself. I like bought a newer camera when like I had my first $100 kind of thing and like bought a camera that didn't suck. And I used that. And then I like upgraded and started buying new soccer balls that were cooler. And that was like the beginning stages of my content creation. But it was very, very early. Like there's a reason that I can make content and continue to make content when I'm not making money from it. It's just because like I will always come back to that because that's like my thing. It's what I like doing.
1,000,000%. So speaking of making money with content, you think it's better to just create content for fun, or do you think that it's a skill that everybody or like a lot of people should learn to like make money with content?
I think there's no reason you can't make money with content. I just think that if you are not just financially literate, but like life literate, and you have like a proper view on life, which I mean, it's hard to say that without sounding like condescending because I don't think any of us have exactly that. But if you don't have like your morals in check and you don't have like a clear goal in life kind of thing, and if it's not something around the lines of like I want to make the world a better place, I want to contribute in a good way. If that's not somewhere in your top 3 priorities of what you're doing, I don't think it goes into a good direction because your morals get blurry. And if you don't have something like God above to like hold you accountable as like, yo, if you do all these terrible things, you're gonna get like justified for it, which I think anyone would agree that like a just ruler of anything holds people accountable. Otherwise, they're just a pushover. You know, nobody wants that as the ruler. So I think you have to have that in some level. But if you're making money from content, the lines get blurry regardless. And so if you don't have a rock, you can start doing things you maybe wouldn't have done because, I got to make that bag real quick. Maybe I'll take that sponsorship I know I should. Maybe I will sell that program or sell that product that I don't actually believe in because I need that bag. And I think it can get hazy there. But if you're a guy or a girl who likes making videos about coffee, I mean, that's why there's half the reason I make drink reviews is because not only do I want to connect with some of these companies that like reviews and stuff and maybe some opportunity can come up, but I want to make sure that people see that I'm not making money from these videos really. It's just like a fun creative outlet that like you can do. You can make videos that aren't 100% like I must make a bag from this. It's like, yo, I just already am going to drink that. And I already like making videos. So I might as well make a funny video of me trying it and reviewing it and rating it. So yeah, I think if you like making videos and you like making content, it's fine. But I think most people don't like it. They just see what's possible from the videos. And it's why they give up. It's why 9 out of 10 creators who are here 3 years ago when I started are gone. Every single one of them pretty much is gone. It's actually mind-boggling. And it's because they didn't like videos, which is fine. It's just like you go in thinking that you like it because of the opportunity, and that's not the case. It's backwards.
So if you had to give somebody, well, first of all, let me ask you this first. How long have you been making a full-time income from content?
Started in August of 2021 was when I first got my paycheck. I made a video. The team liked it. I basically called out this team. I was like, yo, I like you guys, but y'all are doing these 4 things wrong, and it's going to be the reason you fall. And they were like, hey, we like that video. Do you want to do it for us? And I said, sure. And so I pretty much piggybacked them on for like the first few months, and they're still alive somehow. They're like one of the only projects that has any semblance of livelihood. And I'm not to my own horn, but I'm fairly confident that the reason is because of the 6 months of branding we built into that. And that was what they paid me for, $2,400 a month to do branding, to post videos, give them early access because timing mattered at that point in the market. They needed to see that content first to give them an advantage. So the people who held those NFTs got a little bit of benefit from seeing those videos early. And I basically was like their community manager. And so I did that for them. And that allowed me to make videos 24/7 and just focus on NFTs. And then I used that to make videos and reviews and podcasts, which after like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of that, after I made a bunch of them, because I'm making 2 videos a day, 12 TikToks a day, a few companies started reaching out like, yo, we want you to review our company. We'll pay you up front. We don't care what you say. We just want the review. We like your style. And so that pretty much kept me going for like a year and a half. And then I transitioned into NASDAQ, Fortune 500 companies that reached out, or Vertus Media reached out. They work with these companies. I was able to make content with them. And so I went from making videos about these, crypto companies to like Fortune 500 companies. And then that led to all these different opportunities surrounded around content. And it was pretty much because I stuck with the same thesis, was like, I think reviews are underrated. I think transparency and honesty is underrated. And I'm going to stick with this long enough to prove people right, that I'm right, because I think this works. And I think you can keep your morals and do this if you're willing to stick with it for years. It's just like, that's the one part that like, that last part where people are like, oh, like years? I'm like, yes, years. And that's why you have to like doing it. If you don't, there's no way you'll stick with it, because you're going to go up against me and I'm going to win because I like making videos.
Facts. You answered my next question. I the only thing I asked you was how long has it been, and it's been 2 years. Then I was gonna ask like some tips, but then you just like,
bro, I knew they were coming.
So you just read my mind, bro. Bro, you should interview yourself, bro.
There's like 20, there's
Hey,
20 videos on my account that say interviewing myself. I've done this so many times.
Really? Yeah.
I've literally done it. No, I love it.
All right, bro. I know we got like 5 minutes left before we both gotta go. So let's close out with this. Let's talk about God. Let's talk about Christianity, since that's like something that has been brought up multiple times. I kind of saw your realization over the last 6 months. So tell people like what kind of had you have this paradigm shift that, hey, maybe, Christianity is real. Maybe this is real. And talk about like what made you make that shift, number one. And then we're going to transition, and then I'm going to ask you, well, I'll just ask it to you all at once. Then I'm going to ask you, what are the top 3 arguments towards why Christianity isn't real, and rebuttals for those 3 things? And then we'll close it out.
Dude. Yeah, so that's a great ending. Like, I don't know when this was, like right before summer, maybe like May or something like that. I was watching these videos. I was starting to, I think, feel myself becoming a little bit more conservative. I was starting to see movements like the transgender movements. And I started to notice that like it started from a certain place and then ended up here. And it wasn't getting better. And people were getting things that they wanted. And it was just not enough. Like they were like, we want this. And then they got it. And they're like, okay, well now we want this. And then now we want that. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I'm not sure what to think about that. And that's where it started. And then I started watching, and then I watched this movie called Sound of Freedom, which is about child sexual abuse and trafficking. And I was like, how does someone become a pedophile? How is that? How do you possibly get to that point? Are you just born and you just like children and now you're screwed? Like that's kind of stinks. And then I watched a bunch of interviews with these people in the movie who were like, how does that happen?
Bro, it's fine. They're minor attractive persons or whatever it's called. It's
crazy,
fine.
Dude.
It's not a big deal at all.
But yeah, so the interviewers like broke it down. The psychologist Jordan Peterson was one of them. He was like, I'll tell you how that happens. They do that from a bunch of micro paper cuts. Basically, they watch porn, then they watch darker porn, then they go on the dark web, then they buy toys, then they try to act it out. Then none of it's enough, and it sort of follows that model of like it's never enough. You need another hit. I was smoking a lot of weed. I was trying to kick it. I noticed that like no matter what I did, the second I smoked and got high, all I could think about was that this is going to end in a few minutes and I'm going to have another hit and another hit. And I didn't like that. It was like I was like a prison. And so I noticed that like, that's how it happens. And as a society, we're going that direction. No one's willing to stand up for anything because they're scared of like what's going to happen. And I was like, that's not a good thing. We don't like need that. That's not a good place to be. It's not a good direction to be headed in. After transgender, there's nowhere to go but pedophilia and make that okay and make that a movement. We should be listening to their stories. Just like, no. You are affirming their like bad things that they do, and you are affirming them because you think that everyone has a place to everything. I'm like, okay, I get that argument until you bring something that's like innocent, like a child that doesn't actually have the ability to say yes or no, because they are literally not developed yet. And you're trying to make that okay. And I was like, there has to be a line somewhere. And then I started to understand and I was watching these videos of like parents and like TikTok moms, and for example, and I was noticing that like when you're a parent, it matters to have certain standards. You have to be not budging on certain things because when they're 25, they need to have had those things in their upbringing. Otherwise, they just won't have them. And there'll be people who just believe that, socialism and communism is the answer when they have literally no life experience and have these crazy ideals that aren't based in reality at all. They're based in their mind. And when I watched Oppenheimer, there's this thing where he's like, this isn't possible because this, and this. And then he did it in real life. His coworker like did it. And they're like, yo, once you start living out of your brain, you will realize that there are things in reality that are different, that just don't add up in your head. There's a difference in reality and in your mind. And I noticed that like, that's how it is. We can't just be affirming every single thing because it's not okay in reality. It might be a cool concept and maybe like the core of it was good, but then you bring it into reality and not everything's the exact same as you thought it might be in your head. So all these things kind of brought me to this. Let me poke into this a little bit more. Christianity really hadn't come into my head at that point, but this cowboy on YouTube, literally a cowboy dude who just had really good takes on life. And he was just like, bro, if you like the things I'm talking about and you are a coherent person and you want to be more coherent, just like, you don't have to be religious. Just read a King James Bible. Just read it from cover to cover and just let that do its thing. He goes, just read it. And I was like, fine, I can do that. Like, I don't feel pressure. I'm just going to read this freaking book. And so I literally bought the book. As soon as I bought the book, a bunch of weird stuff started happening. And then the day I read the book, the first day I opened it, which happened to me at my birthday, which was insane, 25th birthday, which is supposed to be like this big paradigm shift of age. Like you turn 25, everything changes kind of thing. I don't think it's a coincidence all this happened at 25. Turn 25, get the Bible, open the Bible. First line I read, my chandelier from the ceiling falls out of the sky, rips out of my ceiling, tears a hole in my ceiling, swings down, almost decapitates me. I'm 2 feet away from being murdered from my own chandelier. Almost kills me. So I'm freaked out. Obviously, I'm like, wow, that's a crazy coincidence, I guess. So I look back down, I read one line, I got a knock on my door. And I was like, bro, nobody knocks on my door. Like maybe my landlord. So I'm like, okay, it's probably my landlord. So I go open the door. He's like, hey, Cade.
It was Jesus.
Yeah, it was Jesus. He goes, yo, is someone trying to kill you? It's like, what? Look down, bro. I look down and there's a note written in blood. There's a note and it says boundaries. And I'm like, what? Who leaves a note written in blood? That's not a thing. That literally doesn't happen. So there was this, I won't get into all the details. This person in my apartment building who I was friends with, kind of, and, it was more just like a place where they would kind of vent. And I was taking so many drugs at that point that I thought I was God. I was like, oh, I have all these answers. I've thought of these questions, these existential questions before. I can help you. So they would just unload all this stuff on me. I would give my take. We would leave. We hung out like a few times, like 4 or 5 times over a few months. It wasn't a big deal in my head because I was so focused on YouTube that I just didn't think from their perspective that they were a loner a little bit. And I was the only person that they were talking to during that time. I had you guys, you and Leanne, I had, Dev, I had all these people from IM. I had people I was talking to. I was online. She was not, this person was not the only person I was talking to. I just didn't think about that. And so I was just doing my thing. And I guess, and so at a certain point I was like, yo, I can't be your friend anymore. This is just literally too heavy. Like I can't help you. Yeah, that's sort of how it was. And she was like, great, like no problem. So I was like, cool. And then obviously that was not cool because a few weeks later she left that note. I found out it was a period blood note. Period blood. That's pretty nasty. So I wasn't sure what to do with that. Turns out she was just a little bit, I'm not sure, whatever word you want to use, so I'm freaking out a little bit. And by the way, that same day that this happens, the chandelier and the blood note, 3 hours later, after panicking for 3 hours and reading this Bible, because I'm so scared, I'm just reading the Bible. I'm like reading the Bible. I'm like, please help me, please help me, please help me. I'm so scared. I go for a run. On that run, I've never been stopped in my entire life on a run. You don't stop people who are jogging. That's just not a thing. You don't stop someone who's sweating and running full speed to say something. 3 people stopped me. And I had read at this point, I was online a little bit on YouTube poking around about these things. They're like, yeah, like sometimes like this spiritual warfare starts happening. All this weird stuff starts happening. It's potentially demons like harassing you because they don't want you to like be coming to God. Like it's the opposite direction they want you to be headed. And so like this happens. I'm like, bro, what the actual heck is going on? And then I got a phone call from my hometown. Bring. I'm like, hello, Cade? What? So from my hometown, I'm like, hello? And they're like, Cade, you called. And I'm like, I did not call anybody today. And they're like, who is this? They hung up on me. And I was like, I'm just panicking at this point. And so I was like, okay, bro, I don't know why, but the Bible, I opened this thing and all this stuff started happening. So I went down the rabbit hole. And then I accidentally became Christian during that time because I observed reality and was like, wait a second, this makes way more sense than, bro, we just came from monkeys, bro. And now we're just out here talking about TikTok. And I'm like, bro, we don't go from monkeys to this. That's just not a thing. And like, maybe there's a way where it can happen, but it doesn't come by accident, without a designer. A computer doesn't fall out of the sky fully coded with websites and UI and keyboards and letters. And it doesn't happen without something that created it exactly how it's supposed to be. And you take a human being with a retina, with eyeballs, with a nose, with a digestive system, with hair that grows, with fingernails that grow just to hear. All these things happen by accident. You're like, yeah, like natural evolution and stuff. I'm like, sure, cool. But like, it doesn't come from nothing. There's no thing in the entire universe that comes out of something dead. Something that alive comes from something alive. So it would seem like whatever created us was a living thing. And it has to be outside the bounds of this. Otherwise, it would just be another thing in this. It can't be anything other than a Judeo-Christian God, a singular monotheistic God that is outside the realm of space and time. Otherwise, there's no way you could have created this. And so I started coming to these realizations. And I was like, okay, I got these questions. I'm going to figure out if they're true or not. I'm going to do so much research that at the end of this, God can't be real. Because I can't believe that this is real. And at the end of that, I actually became Christian and like sort of was like, okay, 15 years of my life, I've been running away from feeling of shame that happened when I was like 12 years old. I've been trying to climb mountains, fill this hole in my heart, do this, do that, date this person, accomplish this feat. Nothing worked. And it was all because I had this burden of guilt and shame that happened when I was 12. And I was just running from that because I couldn't hold the weight. The longer I sat and did nothing, it just sunk me down. And I was like, okay, I've tried every single thing. I've tried every single drug. I've dated every single girl that I wanted to. I've accomplished every single goal. I'm a full-time YouTuber. It doesn't get better than that. I think I can just give this to Jesus. And so I literally just said, will you take this from me? If you take this from me, I will follow you. And I literally can't explain it. It wasn't like the physical skies opened up and birds started chanting and stuff. But like I don't have another word to describe it other than the authority of the one who formed me was just like, bet. And I reached out with my hands and it was over. He just literally took the burden like it was nothing and said, great. All right, go live your life. You said you were going to take care of your sister. You said you were going to figure this out. You were going to help. You were going to do what I did, which is basically love people, help people, period. You know, so I'm like, that sounds like a pretty good deal. And it was just over. And I just like, the feeling of like my life is valueless unless I do this, unless I do that was gone. And I didn't know enough about Christ and Christianity yet to like know even what that meant. That all came after because I was still obsessed and even more obsessed. So I like really found out what it is to even be a Christian. And the more I did that, the more I realized that like that's who I already was and was trying to be. I just didn't know that that's what it was because I was raised with like a version of Christianity that I thought it was. And I was raised around Christians who don't even know what that means. And so I just figured an Andrew Tate thing that like all Christians are idiots and Christianity is an idiot. And therefore the entire thing's a sham. And then when I found that like that's not the case, that if you just do an hour of research, you will find that some of the best people on planet Earth that I've met in my life have ended up accidentally being Christian apparently. And the closest people in my life who I really, really care about are actually Christian, including you guys. And I was like, that's actually mind-blowing. So that's about as good as it's going to get for that story.
Wow, bro. That was a lot. That was like a great answer to the question and a great story. And I know for a fact that anybody who listened to that, like, I've already heard a little bit of it, and I still am like super, super inspired by that. So I know for a fact that people that have never heard that before definitely got a ton of value from that. So let's close this thing out, bro.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And here's the
Yeah, that's
thing.
great.
I think that we got to close it out with one question that's even more important than the last one.
Bro, don't ask it.
Bro,
feel
what
like I know
came
what it is.
first? What came first, bro? The
Oh.
chicken or the egg?
He who formed the chicken, bro. I thought you were about to ask me if Logan Paul or Dylan Diaz is going to win tonight or today, like in 2 hours.
That's
What do you think?
a better question, bro.
do you
What's gonna
think?
happen?
Okay.
Logan Paul, Dylan Dennis. What's going
Bro,
down?
The thing is, Logan can't lose this because he's already lost many things, and he doesn't lose because of the way he bounces back. So even if he loses and all this stuff about Nina comes out and all this ends up being true, he will just use that to pivot to blow up in something else. So there's no way where Logan actually loses here, which is the way he's built his brand, which is good. It's not really productive for growing as a person until he hits a wall. And I don't know what that wall will be, but it's going to be something, and it's probably going to be related to his brother, in my opinion. I think something's going to happen with Jake. And I think it's going to be very, very real because Jake's starting to become like a real human being. Logan is still trying to become a billionaire. I think Jake is starting to come back to reality and be like, yo, I want to be a good person first and actually see people's perspectives. And Logan's just trying to like bulldoze his way through everything, which I get because that was me too. And I feel a difference in Jake. And I think Jake is the only person that can talk to Logan where he will actually listen. And I have like a similar thing that with like my sister. Like there's not many people in my life other than pretty much you, Devin, and my sister who can like get to me. Who's like, yo, who I know enough where I'm like, okay, they've thought through their opinion enough to where they wouldn't bring this to me in a serious manner if they didn't actually believe it. And I trust that they're like competent, so I would actually trust their thoughts on it. So I think that Logan Paul is probably going to beat him in the fight, but I don't think that even if he lost that Logan would actually lose. I think Dylan's probably going to get dusted, but who knows?
Bro, I might put some money on Dylan, to be honest with you, bro.
Dang.
I don't know what it is. I think that Logan definitely is he's looking dangerous, bro. I think that you might be right in terms of he's looking a little bit better. Like seen some videos of Dylan sparring, and I'm like, bro, I could beat Dylan Dennis. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but on a serious note, I don't know, man. Something in me is telling me that Dylan's gonna pull out the W. So that's we're gonna have to agree to disagree, bro.
We'll have to see. Yo, that was a great episode. You're a professional interviewer now, bro.
Let's go. No, it was great, bro. I think that I had some amazing questions and you crushed it with even better answers. And so we killed it. Next week we'll come back and then we'll reverse roles.
Yes, sir. We'll get it done. Guys, thank you so much for being here. That was a great episode. If you guys have any questions you want to ask Cruz next time, hit me up. And we'll close this out. 10 seconds, real quick, of just quiet, focus, intention, manifesting, if that's what you do, praying, if that's what you do. Just 10 seconds of it. I just think prayer is very powerful and manifestation is powerful. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. So if there's something in your life that you want to focus on or someone you want to pray for, or if you're, paying attention to Israel stuff, you want to pray for those people, then do that, whatever you want to focus on. 10 seconds of like super hyper focus attention. Just be with us. 10 seconds. All right, cool. Guys, until next time, continue on your Joyage, continue to learn,